Hi, welcome to the latest episode of The Route, School Bus Fleet's content series. I'm Wes Platt, the executive editor. In this episode, we're going to get to hear from Kevin Bangston, the president and CEO of Thomas Built Buses, about the state of the school bus industry and the company's efforts to keep up with demand in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to thank him for participating, and thanks to Thomas Built, a leader in pupil transportation, for their sponsorship of The Route this year. Before we get to that interview, I want to take time to acknowledge the passing of a real legend in the school transportation industry. If you've worked in this world even just a little bit longer than I have, you probably know the name, Frank Giacomo. He was publisher of School Bus Fleet from 1991 to 2021, when he retired and was succeeded by George Brennan. Frank left me and George some big shoes and a stellar sartorial reputation to fill, and I don't think we could ever quite succeed. We will always be in his shadow, but we do our best. Thanks to everyone who's reached out after hearing about his passing, telling us what a great guy he was, how he worked tirelessly for issues like child safety on school buses, and what a true gentleman he was. Our thoughts are with his family and friends, and I know his Bobbitt family across all our brands are thinking of him too. He will truly be missed. Now, let's get rolling. So today I am very happy to welcome Kevin Bangston, the president and CEO of Thomas Built Buses, to this episode of The Route. Kevin, thanks for coming aboard for this episode.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me today, Wes.
And I guess congratulations are in order because we just heard this week you're wearing another hat as president and CEO of Freightliner Custom Chassis Corporation.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is kind of the latest news, and it's a big honor for me. I mean, they're both great companies, and I think, Wes, you know, they are related entities, right? The C2 chassis is produced in Gaffney and comes up to High Point to put the body on. So the companies already work very closely together. Of course, Custom Chassis also plays in the RV market and the walk-in van markets, and their kind of core business. But the two companies, as I said, are very closely, collaborative today, and we look to even increase that collaboration and connection between the two over the weeks and months ahead. So I'm honored to play that role.
Outstanding. So for this episode, we're really trying to get a sense of where things are with the school bus market. There's a lot going on, the EPA with the Clean School Bus Program and now the Clean Heavy Duty Vehicle Program. A lot of funding out there, some opportunities for school districts to get in and invest in new technologies. So kind of give us a sense of where we are a couple of years out from the pandemic and a couple of years out with this funding. Where are we at with the industry overall?
Yeah, it's really a dynamic time in the industry, Wes. I mean, your question about a couple of years out from the pandemic is, absolutely the case. And what we've seen is strong demand kind of across the board for the full suite of products. Related to just the general demand situation, I would say, and that covers, diesel, gasoline, and E in the market. E is growing exponentially, and obviously there's many reasons for that. First and foremost, it's the perfect use case, right? A school bus is the perfect use case for electric in terms of, the routes that you would typically run, and when you can get back to the depot for charging, ability to put energy into the grid and kind of the right seasons of the year potentially as well. But first and foremost, exactly what you mentioned, right? The funding programs, both clean school bus funding and the various programs at the state level are really the push that is actually, creating the demand. And the demand for that is very strong. And we expect that to continue. So really exciting time in the school bus industry, I would say, Wes.
Now, I know production timelines got kind of stretched right out of the pandemic. People hadn't really been buying buses during the pandemic that much, but as they came out, people needed to go into those replacement cycles and start bringing in new vehicles. And then you had the EPA introduce the funding and the state opportunities came up. So obviously lots of demand, and then you guys are trying to ramp back up. How are things now since the pandemic and since the last couple of years, and where do you see that going?
Well, I would say the demand, continues at really a record pace, and the order board for us is at a record level, right? So we're having to manage, our production and orders in a very systematic way with our customers and dealers. Relative to what we've done in that regard, about 15 months or so ago, we announced that we would add an additional shift at the C2 plant.
Mm-hmm.
And we did add that shift kind of in late 2022 and added in the end about 300 incremental employees to staff the shift. We originally were running that at kind of a half tack time, but we've now balanced the two shifts, which gives us increased production as well. So making, real investments both in terms of the manpower in that plant, but, we'll probably come into this in a minute. We're also making huge investments in our product portfolio and as well in the factory itself with increased automation and so on, Wes. So definitely taking every step we can to kind of, meet the demand and to keep our customers happy, right, that want our products.
So what is Thomas Built Buses doing operationally, and what kind of new technology are you implementing to meet the growing demand?
Well, what we've done is launched a real product offensive, and E is one part of it, right? And so on the E side, the Julie's been, in circulation for, I think, talking about 6 years, and it's kind of doubling year on year. We're working on a Julie 2.0, which will have an electric axle and bring us into some different configurations in terms of the length of the bus, shorter wheelbase potentials, and so on. We're also electrifying our HDX, and that will come on the market somewhere down the road here so that we'll compete there. But it's not just that. We're also investing in a gasoline product that will come in short order. And I think very, very exciting for us at Thomas Built, and this will link back to the production piece. The D product, our transit buses, are being relaunched, redesigned to be much more common with the C2. They'll actually move into the C2 plant. We've produced units down that line already. And then we'll get, into our state-of-the-art manufacturing environment with the D, and we'll see a much more common platform. And that's led to very, very extensive investments to accommodate the sizes and dimensions of that product in the plant. So a lot of new automation and, to support that. But it will raise, I would say, the consistency of the quality of that product. And we're really, really excited about that. And that's coming real soon. We debuted that product at our dealer meeting last week in San Antonio, Wes.
Fantastic. And I'm imagining they were pretty excited to see that.
They were really excited to see that. Honestly, we had not planned that to be a demo bus. It was on the way to a test track at DTNA out in Oregon. We diverted it to San Antonio because some of our dealer council had seen it, and they were so excited about it. They thought we just have to get that to the show. So we did that, and it absolutely was a big, big hit. So we're really excited to get marching forward on that project.
Well, I want to hear more about it as that happens. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you share any challenges or achievements that you have seen for Thomas Built being at the leading edge of EV transportation?
Yeah, I mean, on the challenge side, I'll start there. And there's plenty of achievements, but the challenge is interesting, right? Because a couple of things. One, school buses, Wes, as you well know, are leading the way in electrification in the commercial vehicle space in the US, right? And first of all, that's a real honor for us within our own group with Daimler. That's not a place Thomas Built usually is, where we're the front runner on technology, let's say. Usually we're benefiting downstream, a big parent. But in this case, we are leading the way. So that's really, really exciting. But it brings challenges. And one, for instance, was the bankruptcy of Proterra last year, right? And so, I mean, they went into insolvency. Fortunately for them and for us, because we're their largest customer, the assets for Proterra battery were bought by Volvo, traditionally a competitor of ours in the truck space. But in the world we play in today, with so many investments being required in multiple technologies, we do more and more partnerships with what were formerly competitors on the front end in R&D. We compete hard in the marketplace, of course. And so for us, that was a great outcome for Proterra. We're back in business with them. Their product performs very well. They just got kind of ahead of themselves from a financial standpoint, and were, not able to keep up kind of with, couldn't grow quite fast enough or scale quite fast enough, I should say. So we're real happy about that. But that's also indicative. Proterra's one tip of that. I mean, behind, the battery pack providers, and Proterra is not unique here, I don't believe. There's a whole supply chain of relatively nascent companies, right, that are not used to operating at scale. And so we take a very hands-on approach to helping not just our battery provider, but many of the subcomponent providers from a supply chain perspective of how do you get to scale and deliver consistently a quality product. So I'd point to that, and that's kind of interesting because other parts of the commercial vehicle industry are rather more demand challenged, and we're in exactly the opposite camp from the school bus perspective, right? The demand is really, really strong. The orders are really strong in the e-space, but there's some challenges that come with that we have to manage through. So I'll pause there.
Sure. And let's talk about the good news, though, Dietri, because you have met a lot of these challenges and kept coming out of it.
We have, and that really is via a hands-on approach, both with the supply chain side, but also with, I would say, the dealers and customer side, right? I think one of the things that we discovered early on was it's not just the product, right? It's the whole value stream of getting to work with utilities, getting the charging station set up, and really kind of putting together the ecosystem that the customer needs to actually operate those buses. And to that end, we built kind of an internal consulting team that lends its expertise there. And that became a key finding early on, right? That would be essential because this is very, very new to most folks in our industry, and we have to help kind of pave the way there. But the accomplishments just keep coming, right? We're several million miles in operation. We're over 1,000 buses in the field, and that grows very, very quickly at this point. So many celebratory points, and many more to come, Wes, in that exciting field.
Very good. Now, how is the company managing speed to market, particularly when you're talking about safety technology?
Yeah, and here I would say, and I'll quote, and you may remember John O'Leary, may remember him because at one time he ran Thomas Build, right? And now he runs Daimler Trucks North America. And he talks about us moving at the speed of right? Mm-hmm. Not the speed of sound, but the speed of right, R-I-G-H-T. And what he means by that is, yeah, technologies are coming. We have to make sure that what we deliver is first class and that we're meeting our customer needs and expectations. So for us, it's not always about being first to market. It's about bringing the right product to the market at the right time. And we're doing many, many exciting things there. Some of it in the product offensive, meaning the overall product portfolio that we talked about a minute or two ago, and many other things in the features area, particularly when we get into safety systems and other areas like that. And we have a suite of safety products today, both passive assist and camera related. But where we're really also playing is more in the active safety systems, right? Like lane departure warnings, active brake assist, and so on. And a big enabler of that, Wes, is upgrading our school bus architecture, right? So kind of the overall architecture of the bus is in the process of being upgraded to what we call common electric architecture. And you can think of that as kind of buying the superpower laptop that basically then has the ability to plug in many of these cutting edge systems, right? As they come into demand and become something that our customers are looking for, will be well placed to be able to meet those needs and demands. So a lot happening on that front too.
Okay, so the idea of basically creating a platform where you have all the elements you need to attach the modules as they become available. All right,
very well put.
That seems smart. That seems like a great idea.
Very well put. You summed that up nicely. Thank you.
Sure. And before we wrap up, anything else you want to share about Thomas Built or about the industry in general?
I mean, just about Thomas Built, we are investing at a record level, as I said early on. We're really proud of the new products that are coming. We're super proud of the relationships we have with our dealers and our customers. I mentioned we just had a very successful dealer meeting last week with the whole network in San Antonio. I feel that we're really positioned well to compete and win in the marketplace. And it's all about delighting our customers, and that's what we're here for, right? And in the end, we have the users of our buses, right? And that's who we're really here for, to transport school children safely each and every day back and forth to school and to home. And that's what our purpose is, and that's what we stand for. So I would end it there, I think, Wes, if that works for you.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Kevin Bangston, for joining us. Take care, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you for having me. Really a pleasure.
It's time to park the bus for now. Thanks once more to Kevin Bangston for taking the ride with me today. Thanks to our sponsor, Thomas Built Buses, a leader in pupil transportation. Tell your friends about the route. If you've got news, please email me at wes.platt@baba.com. You can get our twice weekly e-newsletters. Just go to schoolbusfleet.com to sign up. Follow us on Facebook, on the site formerly known as Twitter, on LinkedIn. Drive safely, and we'll see you next time on The Route.